All right, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is Are Americans Scared to Talk About Transgender Issues? Experts discuss. Scared? No, I don't think. I don't think anyone is specifically afraid to speak about issues such as these, guys. They're for the most part they're human issues these days, at least, guys. Right? I mean, do I think that everyone wants to sit here and talk about issues like this? No, I think that's the reality. Not at all. But you guys said it to me, so let's go ahead and let's check it out. Let's see where this takes us, guys.
The conversation that we are having here is actually not a conversation that happens.
Only one ear, guys.
And one of the things about this issue is that there is fear on both sides.
Okay.
There's a reason you both are here today, because there's fear of people who are trans coming in settings where they have to defend themselves and their identities and who they are, and fear of people who may not know much about this issue even talking about it, but they have feelings about it. Mm-hmm. So how do we address that? Because it feels to me like this is an animating issue in the country, and everyone is walking on eggshells talking about it.
It is, and I do think it's important to try to have a respectful discourse and understand that there are so many strong feelings. And I think part of the reason why there's so many strong feelings is we're talking, specifically when we're talking about trans issues, this is something that relates to gender and sexuality, something that all human beings have an inherent connection to. Okay. And also feel like they are the authority on. But every person is different in their own gender, in their own sexuality, in their own expression. And I want to go back to the gender affirming care aspect. You know, we're talking about, even for older teenagers, people 17, 18, we're talking about services, medical care that cis people get all the time. Puberty blockers are used outside of people who are transgender. Hormones, HRT, are used for people who are of all ages to avoid...
Okay, guys, this is becoming like another language, guys.
Precocious...
Peppermint? What is that?
Puberties, things like that. And we're not seeing bans or people saying, oh, well, no one in the state can get HRT if you're a female and you're trying to avoid a precocious, puberty. This is only with regards to people who are transgender, and it's being implemented that way, and that's what is being argued at the state level in Tennessee.
I'm curious, Coleman, about that.
The reason none of those other uses are controversial is because those are long-standing, highly evidence-backed, non-politicized issues that have been conditions that have been treated that way going back a very long time. The protocol for gender-affirming care for children, the evidence is it's very weak. That's why it just changed 2 years ago in half the Western European countries, and it's a politicized issue, which means the advocates of the science are not always representing the science accurately.
I think it has been politicized. I don't think being transgender or seeking medical care is political. I think it has been politicized largely by the right to create this type of conversation, to create these wedges. And we have now pigeonholed transgender people as the crux of what so much is hung upon in political discourse. But trans people make up such a small percentage.
They do. This is why I don't understand why we're like talking about it on such a large scale. That's kind of always been my overall dilemma in regards to it. Like, I understand there are people like this who have these, whatever's going on. Guys, listen, I don't know. Are you sure you sent this to the right person? All right. And I'm going to be honest on this here. But my thing is here, there have been people who have been, like this, guys, right, for a long time. But the thing is that I'm not sure there's never been any issues like that. But I do think that the issues kind of, proceeded when a lot of this was basically being consistently force-fed, let's say. I think that's probably more of the issue that people have had. But again, I'm not really sure I get the concept of scared to talk about transgender issues. We can talk about them. Just make sure that they're excessively logical and science-backed. If they're emotionally backed, I'm not sure I'm the right person for it, guys. Like, I understand the difference between XXXY. Occasionally there are some niche instances where or where things could be like XXY, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? I understand that is still for the most part, an exception to the rule for the most part of humanity. Humans are of the nature, let's say, to be XX and XY of the nature. But okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
The population, and trans youth make up an even smaller percentage, that we are having these huge national televised conversations about a group of people that actually is a very small percentage of the population.
But is the alternative to not have the conversation? Because I mean, I think one of the reasons the conversation has to happen is because the numbers are growing of young people who identify as trans.
Yeah, there's reason for that, though.
I wouldn't say that there's necessarily more young people who are trans. I think we have more language to describe who we are and how we feel.
What?
I think we are seeing transgender faces like Peppermint and myself.
Peppermint, that's the name. Peppermint.
And how we feel. Okay. I think we are seeing transgender faces like Peppermint and myself on TV, in film, in movies, and young people and older people are finally seeing themselves represented and are they have the language now to identify how they feel, how they felt. So I don't think we are seeing more transgender people. I don't think this is like an influx of trans people.
No, it's influx. But the thing is, really quickly, it is very important, right? So occasionally you definitely do need to have some type of representation being seen in some ways, okay? I think that's just a reality. There are some people who need to kind of see themselves in whatever they're kind of encountering occasionally. That is an important thing, I think, to the psyche. So in that instance, this individual is correct, guys.
Yeah. I'll also add just one thing to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question was about, shouldn't we, I mean, I'm wondering, do you think it's better to talk about it or to not? Because
I think it's
I'm
better
wondering
to learn
about.
You can talk about it.
Because we are hearing a lot of conversation that has been highly politicized, and most of the conversations, with maybe the exception of this one and a few this week, have not involved transgender people in any way, shape, or form. But major decisions that impact our bodies, our lives, our families, our health are being made without us being considered at all.
Would you agree?
I'm pretty sure you're probably being considered, but the problem is again, the sample size is absolutely minuscule. You cannot, enforce, swaths of litigation and statutes and laws, right? You cannot do that over the entire population of people, right? Because that just doesn't make any sense for the masses. But let's continue.
It would be even better to have a conversation with trans people at the table and people who have detransitioned, and have a conversation with all the stakeholders.
Absolutely, but I think...
Well, that very rarely happens.
100%. I mean, you can produce that.
This man is a savage. But let's continue.
What we're talking about here is people... in this situation with regard to the Supreme Court case, we're talking about people being able to have bodily autonomy, the right to make decisions about their own body and their own health in conference with their medical providers and their families. And that is where the decisions and the impact of that decision will play out. And so
That's fair. That's incredibly fair. I mean, it's your body. I mean, do whatever you want with it. Just don't influence other people to do the same thing. I think that's kind of how that works with me mentally. It's definitely your body. You have in fact that decision. I kind of wish that young boys had that same decision before someone else made a decision to lob off the tip of their genitalia, right, for circumcision purposes, guys. Right. I definitely hope that you're not doing that to your kids, because you're not giving them a choice, right, guys? Let's continue.
Those are the people who have the highest stakes.
Yeah, just one thing I want to add. I mean, we're talking about children and young adults who are going through an incredibly difficult time.
Which is, bro, what kind of, what? I wanted to hear what she said. All right, guys, I don't know. All right, so you guys sent me this. What am I supposed to say to this, bro? Right? Listen, I guess I can say this here. I don't really see the fear. Maybe that's just me specifically, right? I do think that there needs to be some type of discourse between, I'd say any and everyone. Sure, why not, right? But again, you cannot allow the minority to specifically dictate what the majority has to experience. if that makes any sense. And I think that's my overall opinion on all of this. It's an issue, definitely. Right? But I don't think that it's one that people should be completely afraid to speak of or speak out on, let's say. But I understand that this is a topic where you can get easily canceled by saying something random or wrong, right? But that's just where I'm at in this here, guys. I don't know if you meant to send me this one, bro. I'm just gonna be honest because I don't know. This is not my normal thing. But either way, we're here. Listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. This is my lightsaber. Hey guys, you guys subscribe to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd, along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Oh, also, Mr. L. Boyd Discusses. Guys, check it out. And if you haven't heard it today, you're amazing.